Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are on the 28th verse of the third chapter. So please unmute yourself and let us chant. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Tattvavittu Mahabaho
Tattvavittu Mahabaho
Gunakarma Vibhagayoho
Gunakarma Vibhagayo
Gunaguneshu Vartanta
Gunaguneshu Vartanta
Iti Muttva na Sajjate.
Iti Mattvana Sajjate.
Okay. So as usual, first we'll look at the grammar part. So the first word is Tattvavittu. That is broken into Tattvavit and Tu. Tattvavittu. Mahabaho. Guna. Karma. Vibhagayoho. Then Guna. Guneshu. Vartante. So that because of Sandhi rules, it is printed as Vartanta. When you are breaking it up, it becomes Vartante. So Guna Guneshu Vartante Iti Matva na Sajjate. And the Anvaya will be He Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayoho. So that Vibhagayoho is the dual case. So because Guna and Karma both are there, it's not Vibhaga, it is Vibhagayoho. So Guna Karma Vibhagayoho Tattvavit Tu Guna Guneshu Vartante. So that Guna Guneshu Vartante is a quotation. So that is in brackets, in inverted commas. Guna Guneshu Vartante Iti Matva na Sajjate. Hey Mahabaho, O Arjuna, O mighty armed one. Guna Karma Vibhagayoho Tattvavit Tu. So Tu is whereas. As it comes in the first, actually it should be brought into the beginning of the sentence. So tu, whereas, to distinguish from who, from the 27th verse. What was 27th verse? Was he Ajnani or Jnani?
Ajnani.
Ajnani. Why is he Ajnani in 27th verse?
Because he's attached to the air.
What is the crucial phrase which is showing that he's Ajnani in verse number 27?
But he's attached to the...
No, look at verse number 27 and tell me, what is the crucial phrase?
He thinks he's the doer.
Aham karta iti manyate. Okay. Karta aham iti manyate. I am the doer, he thinks. Therefore, he is Ajnani. And the tu is now in continuation. Whereas, O Arjuna, which means whereas Arjuna, now I am going to talk about the opposite, about a different person who is the Jnani. And who is this Jnani? Tattvavit. The one who knows the truth. What truth? Karma gunaha vibhagayoho. Of the distinction between the gunas and karmas. What is the distinction? Guna guneshu vartante. So what is the person knows? What are the different gunas? What is the distinction? What is karma? What is guna? All that he knows. Then what does he think? Iti matva. What does he think? Iti matva means he thinks in this manner. In which manner? Guna guneshu vartante. The gunas engage the gunas. The gunas are interacting with the gunas. So vartante can be taken as engage with, or interact with, or react with. So gunas guneshu vartante. The gunas interact with the gunas. iti matva, he thinks in this manner, and therefore na sajjate, he is not bound. He is free. Okay, so in simple English, whereas, so Arjuna, the one who knows the truth, which means he knows the distinction between the gunas and karma, what does he think? Iti matva. He thinks that guna guneshu vartante. The gunas are engaging with the gunas, he thinks, and therefore he is nasajjati. He is not bound. So this is about the jnani. It's a very nice verse distinguishing between the ajnani and the jnani. So now we have to be very clear about one thing over here. Jnani has got ahankara or not?
No. But he's a mixture.
No. For this is why
Yes.
I keep saying no.
Yes.
What is meant by ahankara, you should know. What is meant by ahankara?
That
Take the context.
I am the doer.
I
It's a body-mind complex.
Sense of identity, individuality.
So
It is the-
there are
it
two
is the
answers.
lower
Two answers which have come in. One is that I am the body mind complex, and one is that I am the doer. Which of this is correct?
I am
body-
the doer.
See, there are two
Body
meanings for ahankara. I explained this before, and this must be very clear in our minds. There are two meanings for ahankara. One is a Dharma Shastra meaning, and one is a Vedanta meaning. What is the Dharma Shastra meaning? In English, we call it ego. The one who has got a misplaced pride, right? Misplaced pride is ahankara. And therefore, when you say, ye aadmi ahankari hai, that fellow is ahankari, it is a negative statement. You are saying that fellow is not a good person, he's got a massive ego. Correct? But what is the context of all this? These few verses which we are reading, which we are studying, what is the context? Is it Dharma Shastram or is it Jnana Shastram?
Jnana Shastram.
So as long as it is Jnana Shastram, that is why I say that every word in Shastram has to be contextually interpreted. And here you cannot interpret it in the Dharma Shastra manner. So Ahankara here does not mean ego. Ahankara here simply means the body-mind complex. There is no, this is just a statement of fact. Ahankara in your Tattvabodha language is what?
Body mind complex.
No. Tattvabodha language.
RC.
RC. That is why we say that Tattvabodha is so important, because the principles are very clear there. And therefore, when we use those principles, we don't have to go into an entire explanation all over again, which will take too long. So here, Ahankara is the RC. What is the RC? The RM plus the OC. OC reflected in the RM is the RC. And therefore, what is the RM?
Mind. Reflecting.
reflecting medium is the body.
Only the body?
No, body mind. Body mind.
Remember that the primary reflecting medium for consciousness is always Sukshma Shariram. It is the Sukshma Shariram which is the primary reflecting medium. And this Sukshma Shariram lends consciousness to the Sthula Shariram, to physical body. Physical body cannot reflect OC without the intervention of the Sukshma Shariram. Why is that so? What is the logic behind saying that physical body, Sthula Shariram, cannot be a reflecting medium for the OC unless there is an intermediary, by the way, by the name of Sukshma Shariram, subtle body. Why is that statement so important in Vedanta? It's a very basic statement.
Because Buddhi is in the Sukshma Shariram.
No. What is the real reason? And somebody should, because this must have been discussed during Tattvabodha class.
Otherwise, all the living or non-living things will also be.
Can you please explain that better?
Say, for example, a stone or something. So they don't have Sukshma Shariram, but they have Sthul Shariram, but they are not able to reflect the OC.
Because Sukshma Shariram only makes us sentient.
Yeah. So have to take the example of the human body. If you are saying that the physical body is a reflector, a reflecting medium of OC directly, what is the big problem? There's one big problem in that statement. If I say that physical body reflects OC, the big problem is that because physical body reflects consciousness, and I'm not saying subtle body is needed, that physical body is permanently reflecting consciousness. It can never die. You understand the logic? When you are saying that physical body cannot reflect consciousness without the subtle body being in place, which is what you are saying, that subtle body is the primary reflecting medium for consciousness. And it is a subtle body which lends consciousness to physical body. That understanding should be very clear. Which is why when subtle body leaves, the physical body does not reflect the consciousness and therefore it dies. It doesn't mean that physical body is not Brahman. Physical body is very much Sat, Chit, Ananda. But physical body does not have the capacity to reflect Chit. It needs subtle body for that reflection to take place. I hope I'm clear. Any doubts on that? This is basic Tattva. Okay. So here Jnani has got Ahankara, which means Jnani has got a physical body. That physical body has got subtle body. That subtle body is reflecting OC, and that RC from the subtle body is lending consciousness to the physical body, which is why the Jnani body looks alive. This is the Vedantic meaning. Okay. And therefore, since Jnani has got Ahankara, Jnani has got Sukshma Shariram. What are the three koshas in the Sukshma Shariram?
Jnanmaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha.
Anandamaya.
Sukshma Shariram has got how many koshas?
Five.
Three koshas.
Basic,
Manomaya,
basic
Pranamaya.
Tattva Bodha is not understood.
Three koshas, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya.
Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. Basic Tattva Bodha. Okay, this you must be very clear. The subtle body has got only three koshas: Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Manomaya. When you say Annamaya, it refers to the physical body, gross body. It is not Sukshma Sharira. Okay, Annamaya means made out of Annam, made out of food. Therefore, it is physical body only. Subtle body is these three, and Anandamaya Kosha is not the subtle body. Anandamaya Kosha is Anandamaya Kosha. It is basically Maya, Prakriti. There are five koshas. This correlation, always remember. The first kosha, Anandamaya, is physical body. The last kosha is Maya. The middle three koshas are the subtle body. Okay. Now, since he has subtle body, obviously he has got Manomaya kosha also. Manomaya kosha is defined as what, in other words? The mind. The mind is Manomaya kosha, right? And therefore, the Jnani has a mind. So you cannot say Jnani has no mind. That is the context of the discussion. Jnani definitely has a mind like all of us. Now, when I say Jnani here, I'm talking about the Jnani as Ahankara, body-mind complex. That is RC, RM, and OC are all three combined. And therefore, we are calling the Ahankara the Jnani. And the Jnani has definitely got a mind. And what are the qualities? Krishna says in the 12th chapter, which we will do whenever the time comes. He says, Advaishta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamoha nirahankaraha samadukha sukhakshami. So Advaishta sarva bhutanam, he is got no hatreds towards anybody. Maitra karuna evacha, he is compassionate, he is a friend of everybody. Nirmamoha, he does not have mamakara. Nirahankaraha, he does not have ahankara. Sama dukkha sukha kshami. He is the same, kshami, whether it is dukkham or sukham. So Jnani is compassionate, he enjoys the mind. Okay. And therefore, when you say that Jnana, that very often you will find that in the scriptures, there is a statement that the Jivan Mukta is the one who has done Manonashaha, who has destroyed his mind. Right? So this is a figurative expression. Remember that Manonashaha, it does not mean the mind is destroyed, because if the mind is destroyed, it means Manomaya Kosha is gone. And that is not possible. You won't be alive if the Kosha leaves, which is Kosha leaves only with the Sukshma Shariram. Therefore, when you say that this Kosha is not there, Nashaha, it means Kosha is not there. And it's got a very normal, meaning, which we all use. For example, let us say your back muscle. Now, normally, do you think about your back muscle when you're in good health? Let us say you're a regular Surya Namaskara, practitioner and yoga practitioner. Normally, are you conscious of your back muscle?
No.
No. Why not? Because it is healthy. There is no problem, right? A healthy organ functions, but it is not interfering with your thinking. It doesn't come and say, oh, I'm hurting, I'm hurting, I'm hurting. And therefore, this Manonashaha has to be understood in the same mind. When the mind is healthy, it's a sane mind. When it is not, does not have raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, then what do we say in Hindi? Man halka hai. The mind is light, right? There is a usage. Man halka hai. My mind is light, which means what? My mind is not bothering me. I am comfortable. That is why the Sanskrit sloka is there. Ashantasya mano bharaha. Can you understand? Ashantasya mano bharaha. For the person who's got ashanti, whose mind is disturbed. Mind, manaha bharaha. Mind is always a burden. And there is a second line, of course, which is not relevant here. But since I'm quoting, Ashantasya mano bharaha avivekinaha shastram bharaha. You can understand? For the person whose intellect doesn't have discrimination, the scripture is a burden. So for the person whose mind is disturbed, the mind is a burden. Similarly, for the person whose intellect is disturbed, the scripture itself is a burden. And therefore, for the jnani, the mind is healthy. It is not a burden. Therefore, it is not a bharam. It is not heavy at all. It is halka. This is called manonasha. And the jnani's ahankara, body mind sense complex, will do all the functions that a normal human being does. It will walk, it will eat, it will travel, all these, it will sleep, it will do exercise. All these are which we do, the normal human beings do. Therefore, the ahankara is a functional ahankara. What is the difference between the jnani's ahankara and ajnani's ahankara? The ajnani's ahankara is the seed for samsara. Is the bijam, seed for samsara. It is a binding ahankara. But the jnani's ahankara has lost the capacity to germinate. As jnani's ahankara looks like a seed. It is no longer a seed. So we very often use the imagery of a burnt rope, a rope which is burnt, right? It looks like a rope, but what is the difference?
It is non-binding.
It cannot bind you.
Cannot.
Because the moment you touch it, it falls into pieces. And therefore, that rope which is burnt, that is equivalent of a jnani's ahankara. It looks like an ahankara, but it does not do the function of binding. It is a non-binding ahankara. And it is said very nicely that the jnani's ahankara has become an alankara. What is alankara?
Jewel. It's a decoration.
Abhushan.
It's an ornament, abhushanam, yes. And the very beautiful depiction of this in our Puranas. Can you guess what it is? Ahankara becoming alankara. What is the definition? What is the depiction in the Puranas?
Shiva with the snake on the neck.
It is the Lord Shiva with the snake on the neck. The snake, which is normally frightening, it is worn by him as an ornament, an alankara. The frightening ahankara has become a beautiful alankara, ornament for the jnani. And that's why Krishna says, Hey Mahabaho, O Arjuna, Tattvavittu. So a little grammar. Tattva is derived from the word tat. Now, where have you heard the word tat?
that
In
one.
the
So,
Tattva
he,
Veda.
okay, fair enough. But there is a Mahavakyam.
Tattvamasi.
Tattvamasi is a Mahavakyam. Okay. So there are two things over there, Tat and Tvam. So what does the Tat in Tattvam stand for?
That you.
That
You.
Tat is that, Tvam is you, that is fine. That is the grammatical translation. What is the indicator? What is the Lakshanam of Tat?
Brahman.
That stands for Brahman. Okay, that stands for Brahman. And Tvam is you. Now, that's as far. Here we say it comes from the word Tat. So Tat is Brahman. Now the Tva, Tattva. Tva is a what is known as a pratyaya, suffix. In English we call it suffix. What is added to a word. Okay. For example, you have to say, let us say there is a flower is red. You want to refer to the essence of that color. What do you say? Redness of the flower. So the ness is a suffix. Now the redness, in the word redness, what does the ness indicate?
The quality.
The quality, the essence, right? Similarly, this word tva is very, very much equivalent to that ness. And therefore, if you are referring to a strong person is balavan, right? Now, if you want to refer to the essence of the strength, you say balatvam or balatva. That tva prefix indicates the reality behind that word. And tat here is Brahman. Tattva means the reality behind Brahman. With means the one who knows. So tattva with means the one who knows the essence of Brahman. And what is the essence of Brahman? I am Brahman is the essence. So tattva with means the person who knows Brahman as himself. Okay. So Brahmanasya tattvam. Brahmanasya tattvam. The reality behind Brahman is known by tattva with. And if he knows that, he also knows guna karma vibhaga yoga, the differences between gunas and karmas. Now here the word guna is a technical word. What does the word guna stand for? It stands for the ahankara. This is what I'm saying. It is a very technical word. Don't take it as pure guna, quality. It stands for prakriti gunahe, the product of prakriti, which is guna. Right? When you say guna, remember that three gunas is no different from prakriti. I have said this before. When you say choti, in Hindi, that choti, and you say there are three strands of the choti, there is no difference. The three strands of hair and the choti are the same because the choti consists of the three strands woven together. Is it not? Similarly, three gunas woven together is nothing but prakriti. And here, gunaha is talking about the karya karana sanghataha. Okay, let me explain that. Karyam is what? Product. Karanam is what? Instrument. Sanghata is what? A combination or a complex. So karya karana sanghataha means product, instrument, combination. Which in other words means what? What is the product of Prakriti? It is the causal body, subtle body, and physical body. And the subtle body has got the instruments. What are the instruments subtle body has?
The Antahkarana.
Antakaranam, Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas. Okay. So the whole complex, Ahankara, is also referred to by the way of Karya Karana Sanghata. That word you must remember, because while it is not very much used in Gita, we often use it in our commentary, right? But in when we go to Upanishads, you will find that very often this is the description given by Shankara. So Karya Karana Sanghataha, product instrument combination, otherwise called body mind sense complex. So this word we have used before, body mind sense complex, that is the Karya Karana Sanghata. It's not Karya Karana Sanghata. There's a difference between Karya Karana and Karya Karana. What is the difference?
Karana is the instrument and Karana is the cause.
Is the cause. So just remember to keep that distinction clear. Karya Karana Sanghata. Okay, which means ahankara, which in this word is referred to as guna. So guna means ahankara. Ahankara means karya karana sangataha. Karya karana sangataha is karta and karma. So karya karana sangataha can be taken as the karta, the doer, the pramata, the knower. So guna karma vibhagayoho, he knows the difference between the karta and the karma. Ahankara and the karma. The karta and the karma difference he clearly knows. Which means what? He knows the difference means what? He knows there is a karta, he knows there is a karma, you have to supply. He knows that he is also there. He knows that all karmas belong to karta alone, which means all karmas are done by this ahankara, this karya karana sanghata alone. He knows that no karma belongs to him who is the Atma. This knowledge is very clear. That is the meaning of guna karma vibhagayoho. Tattvittu guna karma vibhagayoho. This knowledge he very clearly has. What is the knowledge? All karma belongs to ahankara alone. No karma belongs to Atma. Right? And if the Atma seems to be affected by the karma, then that is something like, I am showing my hand here. When I move my hand, what happens? You see the movement of the hand, right? The light does not move, but it cannot move. But since you see the movement of the hand, you think the light is moving along with the hand. So that is the same example as the Atma. All karma is done by Karya Karana Sanghata, the body, mind, cells complex, the Ahankara alone. But since we are focused on the Ahankara, we superimpose, we transfer that movement of the Ahankara to the Atma, and we think that Atma is doing the karma. That is what he means. And that is why Nitya Sarvagataha Sthanur Achaloyam Sanatanaha. Where did we come across this word? Nitya Sarvagata.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. What does it mean? Nitya, eternal. Sarvagataha, all pervading. Sthanuhu, non-moving. Achalam, non-moving. Sanatanaha, all the time, eternally it has been there. It is timeless. And therefore, whenever we talk about Atma traveling on rebirth, as Vedantics, we should rephrase and prefix Jiva to the Atma. So Jivatma takes rebirth, Jivatma travels. This Jivatma, when we say, we should be very clear. This Jivatma is what? Ahankara. Ahankara is what? Karya Karana Sanghataha. Tattvaboda terms, RC. Okay, these words are all synonymous. We should not get confused. Jivatma, Ahankara, RC, all these are similar words. That is the traveler. Atma does not travel. Atma Nitya Sarvagata Sthanuhu Achaloyam Sanatana. The Atma can never have been rebirth, very simply because Sarvagata. It is always there. It has always been there. It doesn't have to take rebirth. And the Jnani has understood that all karmas belong to Ahankara alone. He knows. And knowing that, he knows that Ahankara is constantly active. Because of three gunas being constantly in motion, Ahankara is constantly action. As long as I think that I am Ahankara, I will continue to be bound by the nature of the Ahankara, which is what? Being a karta. As long as I do not give up the claim that I am Ahankara, I will continue to perform one action after the other. You can only replace one set of actions by another set of actions. You can never give it up as long as you think that you are Ahankara. This is what is being said here. Then, in that case, but Krishna himself says elsewhere that the person can never give up any action. Anybody who has a body has to continuously act. How do you then give up the action? That is the question. That question is very simple. It is the giving up of the action in Vedanta via ahankara is simply understanding that I am not the ahankara. Because all my actions belong to the ahankara. That is why guna karma vibhagayo. I know the distinction. All actions belong to the ahankara. The moment I have understood that I am Atma and not the ahankara, as Atma, I have renounced all actions. Ahankara will continue to do actions in accordance with prarabdha karma. Right? And therefore, at the ahankara level, I will be comfortable knowing that actions will have to continue. That's very important. As a jnani, I have an ahankara. Karya karana sanghata is there. And I know, this is the difference. I know that karma will continue at the level of the ahankara. And therefore, without any resistance, without any disturbance of mind, I allow my ahankara to continue to do karma in this world. As a jnani, I know I am Atma. I know that I have no actions to do. I cannot do any action because indeed I am all pervading. How can I do actions? But I know that the ahankara has by its very nature to continue to do actions. And therefore, without any disturbance in my mind, without any resistance, I allow my ahankara to do all the karma that it has to do. What kind of karma? It depends upon what type of ashrama the ahankara has. If I am a grahastha, I'll be doing all the grahastha duties. If I am a sannyasi, sannyasi has a certain set of duties. If I am a vanaprasthi, he also has a certain set of duties. If I'm a brahmachari, I have a certain set of duties. Whatever is the ashrama, the duties are necessary to be carried out. And nowadays, because of better health, better medicines, we have longer lifespans. We have 70 years, 75 years, 80 years. And if the longer we live, it is necessary for us to keep the body and mind in good condition. And therefore, karma is necessary, exercise is necessary, Surya Namaskara is necessary, asana practice is necessary. All this is karma only. Therefore, I should know how to gracefully grow old. How to keep my physical body fit and my mind fit. That is all part of ahankara. Ahankara has therefore to be a karta only. That I have to understand. That I have to keep my body and mind fit. But I have to understand that keeping my body and mind fit has nothing to do with my being Brahman. This understanding is something which most people don't have. They think that by keeping the mind in great shape, you will become, in inverted commas, become Brahman at some time. That is not the understanding. Understanding is I am Brahman. There is a body and mind sense complex. So I am Brahman is indicative of the jnani. Aham Brahma Asmi. Then I have a body mind complex. That is the reality. Because I am in this world and I have a body mind complex. That body mind complex has to be kept fit, has to be kept in good shape. And as long as it is in good shape, it can continue to do some service to society. It can either teach or it can help in an orphanage, it can do some charity. Some sort of use that body mind complex must have to society. And therefore karma has to be done. Ahankara has to be a karta. And that's the catch is, as long as ahankara is a karta, ahankara is a bhokta also. So at the ahankara level, there is a series of karma and a series of karma phala. Ahankara is karta, continuing to do karma after karma after karma. Because of that karma being done, ahankara is bhokta also, experiencer also, continue to experience karma phalam after karma phalam after karma phalam. Some karma phalams will be very pleasant, will be wonderful. Some phalams will be painful. What is the being conveyed here? The jnani accepts this nature of ahankara and lets the ahankara do its actions in accordance with its prarabdha. And his attitude is what? Guna guneshu vartante. That is a critical phrase over here. Guna guneshu vartante. So here, the first guna is prakriti guna. equal to the ahankara. So this again understanding is clear. Guna guneshu vartante is not that three gunas are interacting with three gunas. You have to understand what they mean. The first guna is ahankara, karya karana sanghata, body mind sense complex. The second guna in guneshu, that is the jagat. Remember, that is also born out of three gunas. Both the body mind complex and the jagat are born out of what? Out of maya only, out of prakriti only. And here the first guna refers to the body mind complex. The second guna refers to the world. Therefore, if you can say sense organs will continue to interact with the sense objects. So guna, guneshu vartante. This ahankara is there, the world is there. They will, whenever ahankara comes into contact with the world, there will be interaction. Then every interaction is necessarily going to produce pleasure and pain. Where did we see this? We have seen it earlier also. The same little very important piece of advice. That when you interact with the world, there will be sensations. Those sensations can be painful, can be pleasurable. We saw that in a very, very important verse in the second chapter. What is that? Okay, so I'll remind you, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkhadaha. Matra Sparshastu. There will be interactions. Interactions will produce sensations. Sensation will be painful. Sensations can be pleasurable also. What is being said? Every interaction is necessarily going to produce some sort of sensation, which can be either painful or pleasurable. And just because I have the prarabdha to come across a painful situation, I cannot try to escape from this world. Anywhere that I go in this world, people are there, animals are there, trees are there, plants are there. How can I escape from the world? Right? Trying to escape from the world, there are so many ways. You try drug abuse, you try to lock yourself away in your room. These things don't work. They only reduce my strength of mind and they take away my capacity to face the world. Therefore, Krishna is saying, accept the fact, guna guneshu vartante. Accept the fact that the gunas, body, mind, sense complex, will necessarily interact with the world. Accept the fact that this interaction will necessarily have experiences. Some will be pleasant, some will be unpleasant. Accept that. Iti matva. Having accepted, with this knowledge, na sajjate. Jnani will not be touched. He will remain detached. He will not be bound. Which means that I am able to look at my own ahankara very objectively. Now, that's a very important statement, because death by itself, is it a problem?
No.
No.
Why do
No.
you say that? Because when somebody else dies, you are not very, very disturbed, unless it is somebody close to you, right? You are not very disturbed. When people are dying in Ukraine, you are seeing it every single day. But, okay, on a deeper level, you may say this should not have happened, but you are not disturbed. Because you are able to look at it objectively as somebody else's body. The problem is here, you have to learn to look at your body with that same level of objectivity. Not only your body, the body of your wife, the body of your children, the body of your husband, the body of your parents. Once you learn to look at all these bodies with the same level of detachment, objectivity, as you look at the morning news about Ukraine, then na sajjate, you are not bound. Right? The problem is that when it comes to my own body or that of the bodies of my family, then I lose that objectivity and I become bound. Remember that Vedanta does not change any fact of life. Vedanta can never change the world. Vedanta can only give you the objectivity to know that you are being bound unnecessarily. And therefore, Jatasya dhruva mrityuhu, from the second chapter, is a universal law for all. The one who is born, he must die. Jatasya dhruva mrityuhu. And remember, the other part is also true. The one who dies will necessarily be born. This is a universal rule for everybody, whether it is your husband or your wife or your father or your mother or your brother or your sister or your daughter. This is a universal law. Why do I get upset? Because I want two sets of laws, one for me and one for the others. That dichotomy in my thinking, that is the problem, right? But for the jnani, he has understood that the universal law has no favorites, and that even his own body will be subject to that, to the working of that universal law. Therefore, he does not protest against anything. Old age, he accepts. Honor, he accepts. Dishonor, he accepts. Friends, he accepts. Enemies, he accepts. Separation, he accepts. Good health, he accepts. Deterioration of the health, he accepts. Death of the body, also he accepts. This acceptance of everything that happens with the understanding that the body is undergoing prarabdha and that I, as the Atma, am not touched. This acceptance is called Jivan Mukti. Okay, so I'll stop here in case you have any questions. It's been a very long session on one verse. A very important verse. That's why it took some time.
So when a body dies and takes a rebirth, is there any like, I'm sure is there any fixed time that when a body dies it takes rebirth after a certain time?
Actually, Shastra says, the Upanishad says that at the time of death itself, the seed of the next body is already formed. The Sukshma Shariram has taken, because Sukshma Shariram does not die, right? Subtle body does not die. It is your physical body which is dying. What is this death? The prarabdha karma, which was given to the existing Sukshma Shariram in this physical body, that karma has been exhausted.
Yeah.
And therefore, the physical body is no longer alive. The Sukshma Shariram is leaving.
Yeah.
But when at the time of leaving itself, Shastram says the next bunch of karma is already given. Now, the point you are asking is that Sukshma Shariram, when will it take another physical Shariram? That is uncertain. That can be, 1 day, 1 year, 1 lifetime, 10 lifetimes. That is not mentioned anywhere. There is no way of knowing that.
Okay.
Acharya,
Yeah.
also because time is not linear.
Time is not linear, of course.
It could also mean it's happening, in a way, parallelly.
Parallelly, it may not happen because the Sukshma Shariram is actually to leave the body, right? That subtle body cannot be in two places at one time. Is that what you're saying?
Now, I'm wondering if it can exist in multiple lokas.
No. That is not said anywhere. Okay. There is a special case discussed in Brahma Sutra, which we'll come to when we come to Brahma Sutra. I don't know when we'll come to that, but normally, the Sukshma Shariram is one individual subtle body, and it requires an individual physical body to become a whole jiva. Yes, time, it is said, is different, flows differently in different lokas. So, Shastra also says about the Sukshma Shariram traveling to the, one of these lokas and sitting there for some time to enjoy the punyam, then coming back. So that traveling to the loka itself is a journey, and that supposing you are going to say Swargaloka. Swargaloka, that Sukshma Shariram takes a body, right? It may be a much more refined form of the body, but it does take a body. But how long it will take to travel to Svargaloka, that is not clear. Look, there are things about 9 days, 10 days, 15 days. Mundaka also we saw. But in terms of flowing of time, 1 day in Svargaloka may be 100 years in this place. So that kind of connection is difficult to make.
Right, thank you.
And you can't make it because there's no way of measuring the veracity of your calculation. Okay, anybody else?
Arya
Om Ravi ji.
Karanam. Sorry.
Yes,
Ravi ji,
Lata.
I have a question.
Yes, Lata ji,
Okay. Okay. So basically, now we having this body, ideally for us to achieve moksha or to understand that you are Brahman, if you understand that you are Brahman, even a Brahman is actually doing karma, right?
No,
Because
it is a body-mind complex which does karma.
okay.
That is
I
very
mean,
important to understand. Brahman is because of which you are able to do karma. Because of which you, meaning the body-mind sense complex, becomes conscious. And that is why you are able to do karma. Brahman itself does not do karma. When electricity flows through the fan, it is the fan that moves, not the electricity.
So I am the fan. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Sir, Karya Karanam
Yeah.
and one more word that is kind of,
Sanghataha. Sanghataha means the complex.
and then Karya Karanam.
No, not Karanam. Karya Karana Sanghata. Karanam is cause. Karanam is instrument.
So that the difference is,
That's the difference. Karya Karanam means your body and the instruments. Karya Karanam means cause and effect. It's not being used here at all. It's used in other places, but here it is not. For the clay and the pot are Karya Karanam.
okay, Karya Karanam. Okay, the Karana of Karya.
The Karanam is the cause which gives rise to the Karyam, which is the product. So in the gold bangle example, the gold is the Karanam and the bangle is the Karyam. The clay is the Karanam. The pot is the Karyam.
And Karya Karma.
Karya Karana, don't be confused. Karya Karana means
Karana.
body,
I am
mind, sense
confused.
complex plus the instruments, which is the Jnanendriyas, the Karmendriyas, and the Antakaranam.
Okay.
Karanam refers to the instruments. Yes, Kalyani ji.
I'll ask the question in the meanwhile.
No, Kalyani ji is there. I think she's just unmuted herself. So after that, you can ask.
Sorry, hello, Ravi, it's actually Natraj.
Yes, Natraji.
Yeah, I was asking the same thing actually, clarification on this.
Natraji, your voice is extremely faint.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Very, very faintly.
Very faintly. Let me try this. Is that better now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah, taking the speaker off. Sorry, same question actually. Clarification on this Karya Karana.
Yeah. So the Karanam here refers to the instruments of action, which are our Danta Karanam, the Karmendriyas, and the Jnanendriyas. So the entire complex consisting of body, mind, plus the Indriyas. That is what is meant by Karya Karana Sanghata.
Okay. So the Karya is the complex and the Karana is the...
Karya is the complex, Karana is the instruments.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Urvashi ji.
I just wanted to check with you because whatever understanding I had was when we do these 1 year rituals, the Barsi that we call.
Yeah.
I was given to understand at that time that it is because the subtle body at that time is so rarefied, or it dissolutes by itself, kind of a thing. It is when the Sukshma Sharir is no longer existent or it is for release. That is what I had understood. But from what we learned today, it is like an individual thingy which moves with the Atma to whichever loka it goes. After 1 year, when we do the Varsi Puja, does it mean that the Sukshma Sharir no longer exists? Or
No, no, no.
weakens or-
Sukshma Shariram, from Tattva you should know that Sukshma Shariram will exist throughout creation, and even on Pralayam, it doesn't get destroyed, it gets absorbed into the Karma Shariram. The only way of destroying Karma Shariram is by moksha. So the understanding that Sukshma Shariram gets destroyed is doesn't gel with Shastric teaching. If you're asking why we are giving these offerings, I mean, if you ask me, it is more as a discipline for yourself than for the subtle body. Because you don't really know whether that ancestor of yours has been born or not, reborn or not, is it not? So you may be making your offerings after some people whose parents die early, they are keeping on making that offerings maybe for 25, 30 years or 40 years. On what basis are we to take it for granted that the ancestors have not taken rebirth? So it is more for you as a discipline, as part of a Pitra Yajna, which gives you punyam. I don't think my ancestor needs my, offerings. But Shastram presents it that way, so to make it as a mandatory duty for you, for your own punyam, as part of the Panchamahayajna. Munmun, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. So I'm just revising and trying to understand if what I've understood is right. So, Prakriti is Maya.
Prakriti is Maya, yes.
Guna is Prakriti is Maya.
Guna is Prakriti is Maya.
And Ahamkara is Guna.
Ahankara is product
Guna
of
is
Maya.
Ahamkara. Guna is Ahamkara.
Guna is Ahankara, and it can be taken as a product of Maya, product of Prakriti. In this case, remember that Guna can also refer to Prakriti, but here it is Prakritehe Gunaha, the product of Prakriti.
So, but otherwise, like through the course of Vedanta, we can use then all these words interchangeably.
You can use them all interchangeably, but the meaning is always very specific to the context in which you are using.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Rinkuji.
Om Acharya ji, my question is, we have been studying about the Jnani and the Agyani. Now, in this stage of understanding, there is an intermediary stage as well. Is it not that we understand that the Agyani is the one who is in the mode of doership and enjoyership, Karta, who the RC aspect, and the Jnani who understands that it is the RC which works and he is beyond it. But while we are living on a practical aspect, how does this understanding come into our own daily being? Like if now today I understand that it is the Prakriti, my gunas which are working, the body mind complex of everybody is interacting with everybody else, it is not the Atma per se, then the stage which is there in between, how does one behave in that? Because there's a stage of extreme dispassion that you're speaking about, that he's not bothered about the stage of entire samatvam, that this is only the BMI which is acting.
That's a very, very careful distinction to make between being indifferent and being dispassionate.
So
you as Jnani, for you, how many others are there?
As a Jnani, nobody else but
is there. And therefore, the sorrow of every single body in this world belongs to your own Ahankara. Because for you, your Ahankara is powered by that same Atma which you are. Your neighbor's Ahankara also is powered by the same Atma. So his sorrow is your sorrow. When there is nobody else, are you not compassionate about yourself? When you bite your finger, do you beat your teeth? No. Therefore, the Jnani is the most compassionate person in the world, because he feels the pain of everybody else as his own pain.
But then you can't do everything about that pain. You can't really get involved in that pain.
That is where the dispassion is. Whatever you can do, you should. If you can go and comfort somebody, you should. Whatever you can do by way of alleviating the pain of others, you should. But do it without disturbance of mind. Your pain, that pain should not make your FIR go for a toss. That is all that is being said.
Then therefore I have this question. So if at times a distinction comes between, we say that now my mental peace is getting disturbed. Now here the concept of my mental peace comes, and the XYZ environment which is causing that disturbance is also there. Obviously, this is not a Jnani's attitude, it's an intermediary stage.
No, there's no intermediate stage. Either you're a Jnani or you're not a Jnani.
Yes. So
You can't be partially a Jnani.
yes. So how does one handle in that particular stage where this me and the environment still exists and you are trying to protect your own mental well-being?
You handle through the sadhana. You continuously recall the teaching that I am Brahman.
And everything else is Brahman as well.
And everything else is Brahman. Or you continue to say that this is what is happening in this world. How can it disturb me? That constantly telling yourself that you are asanga, you are not attached to these things. That is the nididhyasanam part. That is the constant mental chatter which you have today, saying that why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? That will be replaced by nothing is happening to me.
All right. Thank you.
It's very difficult to assimilate. It's very easy to talk about it. But the best test is over a period of 2-3 years of teaching, have your reactions become less. And the person to tell you that are the others, your friends, your husband, your children, not you. If the teaching has worked on your life, you will hear things like you have changed. If it is your husband, you will hear it in a negative manner. Saying to Vedanta ne tumhara dimag kharab kar diya, it will say. If it is your friends, they'll probably tell you, you have really changed. If it's another Vedantic, he will appreciate it.
Sometimes the change happens more internally rather than, till it starts manifesting externally.
The internal change will always manifest in the lowering of your FIR. Otherwise, there is no change.
That is only what we realize, but on the external, people don't see unless it's a very, very gross change.
See, if you have been a quiet person anyway, non-reactive person, then it is not going to be very obvious. But if you have been a person who gets disturbed at every little thing, and suddenly they find that, it's no longer bothering you too much, it will be a very visible change for them.
And that starts bothering them.
That starts bothering them, which should not bother you. But, that is going to be there. And if you look at the people in this group and you ask them, they'll tell you that changes have been there in their lives. Most of the changes have been met by a lot of disapproval from their own people. But are they happier or not is the question that you have to ask them.
Right.
That is why I said, don't look for approval.
Right.
You don't need approval from anyone in your life. Approval seeking is the mark of a weak mind. That is what Vedanta is trying to eliminate, that weakness of mind, by making you as strong as possible.
Understood, Acharya. Thank you.
Okay, so with this, we'll stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you, Acharya.